The Ultimate Hangs Guide will teach you how to bulletproof your back, chisel your abs, and sculpt a V-taper, or as the kids today call it, the Dorito. You'll also learn how to strengthen your grip, fix your posture, and prep for pull-ups, the ultimate upper body exercise. In this 1 hour deep dive, I'll give you a complete beginner's guide to one of the most important exercises in the fitness game that you should be doing daily. I'll show you how to make it easier, how to make it harder, outline advanced variations, gripping challenges, and movement challenges. Plus, watch all the way till the end to learn about inversion training, taking your hangs to a whole new level. Before you go vertical, you must first build a horizontal base with bridge hangs, and it all starts on 2 arms and 2 legs. That's 4 points of contact for the utmost stability. Now you can do this on parallel bars or use a suspension trainer or gymnastics rings. The choice is yours. For best results, mix between the two. There are 2 types of hangs you can mix between: the passive and the active positions. Passive means you're stretched out at the bottom. Active means you're contracted by pulling the shoulder blades down and back as far as you can and really arcing out. The shrug is where you mix between both positions for reps or time. A suspension trainer or gymnastics rings allows you to regress the exercise or make it easier as much as you want. The higher your body angle, the easier it is. It also allows you to work each arm independently to strengthen imbalances between sides. The beauty of bodyweight training is being able to quickly make it easier, harder, without changing the actual load. In this case, we go from knees bent, feet flat on floor, to legs straight, feet on floor, to legs straight, feet elevated, going from easiest to hardest. If you're using a suspension trainer or rings, you can adjust the straps as needed and then walk yourself down to a lower body angle. The flatter your body is to the floor, the more difficult the movement is. Adjust it as much as needed to get the intensity you're looking for while maintaining good form and technique, good breathing mechanics, and again, getting all the way flat is a real challenge. In terms of hand positioning, I really want to encourage you to have a very relaxed, smooth grip. If you squeeze the bar too hard, you'll fatigue faster, not be able to hang as long, and be prone to elbow issues. In terms of actual grip, the hammer grip, palms facing, neutral positioning will be the most joint friendly. That being said, I encourage you to switch up your grips as much as possible, whether it be from set to set or day to day for best results. The wider and overhand style gripping will challenge your stability more, where the closer and underhand style will challenge your mobility more. From there, we progress from 4 to 3 points of contact with the bridge hang on 2 arms and only 1 leg to increase the stability demands. Now, just like the previous variation, you want to start with the knees bent at 90 degrees before straightening them and then eventually elevating your feet for the biggest challenge. You might be wondering, why am I worrying about the hips during an upper body program? But in reality, the pelvis attaches to your lumbar spine or your lower back, so it does dictate spinal positioning. And if you want to max out your hangs potential, you need to really focus on proper pelvic positioning and strength. You can use parallel bars or a suspension trainer. Now, the suspension trainer adds a whole new level of instability. You really have to fight to squeeze the glute of your support leg and prevent that rotation at the hip and spinal level. Really pull your shoulders down and back and root yourself down into that grounded foot. And even at a high incline, it's super challenging, maybe even tougher to stabilize the spine than the parallel bar option flat on the floor. I'm a big believer in the ball squeeze. Now, squeezing a medicine ball between your legs or even a foam roller or a yoga brick is going to allow you to enhance pelvic floor activation, strengthen your adductors, and give you more overall hip and core stability. You'll get more out of the exercise. And again, you can march or hold 1 leg at a time. You definitely want to master the bent knee version with feet on the floor before progressing to legs straight and then legs straight, feet elevated. In particular, focus on maintaining 90-degree angles in the legs, maximum hip extension of the support leg to get the glutes going, and then really tuck that knee to the chest to max out hip flexor activation of the top leg, but also hip flexor stretch in the bottom leg. The straight leg version will definitely increase the high hamstring work and the overall demand of the movement, so be careful. If you're looking for an even greater challenge, try elevating your feet on a stability ball or a medicine ball. This will make it much harder to stabilize with additional lateral and rotational forces of the rolling ball, so really drive the legs down hard. The next progression is the bridge hang performed on 1 arm and 2 legs. This is much more challenging than the single leg option because your lower body is much stronger than your upper body, so you got to fight hard to stabilize. When using the parallel bars, you can mix between a hammer or an overhand grip. If using a TRX suspension trainer, here's how you take it into single handle mode. Now this is especially helpful because you can unload your body weight as much as you want with the higher body angles because the parallel bars might be too tough. Be sure to widen your feet for both options because that's going to give you a more stable base of support in single arm mode. I also love the TRX for the shrugging component. You can do it on the parallel bars too. But a higher body angle sometimes allows you to get better form and technique. And you can see here, there's even still a slight bend in the elbow I want to try to avoid here. I want totally straight arm when doing this to drive the movement only through the scapula. You can either hold one arm at a time or alternate. Now the alternating option is less of a strength challenge because you can mix between arms. One rests while the other works, but it is a little bit more unstable, whereas holding one arm at a time will really challenge your stamina. If the parallel bar option is too hard, you can modify with an uneven towel grip or band grip. The towel will be easier because the band has more bendability to it, but either way, keep as much of your weight as possible onto the bar hand and assist only as needed with the towel or band. By the way, you can also set up for inverted rows or the hanging bridges using a power rack or a Smith machine. Just set the bar height to waist level. You can do all the drills we've done on parallel bars and also the TRX suspension trainer or gymnastics rings, particularly great at commercial gyms. The final stability progression is moving to just one arm and one leg, opposite arm and leg in fact. You gotta fight hard to stabilize because it's only 2 points of contact, a real core challenge. The hardest part with this variation is just initially getting into position and starting your set, so it can be pretty frustrating because of that massive anti-rotation stability challenge. The bar might wiggle on you, your body's going to be tilting and turning as you try to fight to keep your shoulders square and hips fully extended. That's okay, that's part of the process here. This also might be the most challenging core stability exercise in the program because the horizontal nature of the movement has you directly working against gravity to stabilize the spine. I definitely recommend starting one side at a time before alternating, even if the sets are as short as 5 to 10 seconds per side, because you can actually alternate sides for a 2-minute work period to kind of get in the total time of your tension you're looking for. And again, if it's too tough, use TRX or rings at a high angle and build that entry-level rotary stability. Now it's time to play with some flexed arm variations. The goal here to create isometric strength at key joint angles. Option A, arms flexed at 90 degrees or the middle of the row, and option B, arms fully flexed at the top of the row. These are 2 angles that will be the most challenging over the course of the movement. You can also mix between static versus pulsing sets. Static means you're holding it isometrically where you'll build strength at that exact joint angle plus 15 degrees above and below. The pulsing sets are more dynamic in nature. You'll get a more precious pump and burn. I love both. You gotta use both. If it's too tough or you can't hold for very long, you can modify with TRX or rings at a high angle, but also understand this is an open chain variation. Your hands have to fight to stabilize in free space. If you're feeling frisky, you can also try the isometric row ladder, where you hold for 1 second at the top of the first rep, and then you add 1 second every subsequent rep. So then 2-second hold at the top, 3, 4, and 5. You climb that ladder as high as you can, or you just stop when the timer goes off. But this provides such a unique blend of strength, stability, and stamina, plus the extended time under tension to both build muscle and bulletproof the joints. And finally, if you absolutely want to rock your world and blow up your back and forearm muscles like a balloon, you can try the 1-rep ASAP technique, or as slow as possible. This is a 60-second set that I sped up to fit for the purposes of this video, but I'm going as slow as I can up and down, working 1 inch at a time, adding strength, stability, and stamina to every angle for movement mastery. Not that you'll need to, because this is a tough sequence of movements, but if you want to make it harder, again, you can go from knees bent, feet on floor, to legs straight, feet on floor, to legs straight, feet elevated. You can also mix between some shorter duration, higher intensity sets with legs straight, feet elevated, and some longer duration, lower intensity sets with knees bent, feet on floor. Now let's strengthen the hands, fingers, and forearms with a variety of gripping challenges. A common saying in bro speak is if you can't grip it, you can't lift it, or in the case of the 28-day hangs challenge, you can't hold it. So grip is something you have to really focus on training, especially as you get older. Research actually suggests that a stronger grip can be a predictor of you living longer, so you can find more longevity, besides the fact that you will excel at things like hangs, carries or farmer's walks or deadlifting variations. The more traditional gripping style of wrapping the thumb all the way around the bar and squeezing gives you the biggest strength and power potential, but can also lead to over-gripping, elbow pain, and fatiguing faster. Wrapping the thumb under or alongside the bar can relax the grip a bit and prevent some over-pressuring, while also giving you plenty of stability. My favorite option, especially for longer duration hangs, is to wrap the thumb on top of the bar or use a smooth monkey grip. It also really helps you initiate the movement through the shoulder instead of the elbow. Bar thickness is another variable you can play with. Thinner bars may be easier to hold on to, but they tend to cause a little more hand discomfort and callousing, whereas thicker bars are harder to hold, but tend to increase overall arm activation and not beat up your hands as much. These fat grips you can add on to bars, whether it be row bars or pull-up bars or even your TRX handles. The towel grip increases dexterity and hand health, and it can also be used as a self-assistance tool to build up to single arm holds. The lower you grab on the towel, the harder it is. And a thick band can be used in a similar fashion, though it's easier to grip than the towel. Its elastic nature creates a bit of an oscillation effect, adding instability. The term game changer is definitely overused these days, but I truly mean it when I say that a rotating grip is a game changer for your overall shoulder health, mobility, and performance. All we're doing is keeping the arms completely straight and mixing between an underhand and overhand grip. That internal-external rotation will feed all of your pulling strength and performance. You've got to commit to it. Now it's time to freestyle and have some fun with movement challenges. Now we built that stability base with all of those static isometric holds, but now adding this dynamic movement makes it a lot more fun and engaging. Hanging bridge walkouts and or marches. Now the walkout portion has you going from the bent knee to the straight-legged position in very small increments, giving you a complete hamstring workout, both the high and low hamstrings, because the hamstrings are active on hip extension and knee flexion. But we're doing this with that hang position. We can add the marches as well to get the hip flexors going, extra challenge for the glutes and stability, combine the two, and even add some inverted rows into it for a complete backside workout you can do anytime, anywhere. Another killer option is the hanging straight-legged hip extension, either with a parallel bar to elevate the feet or high box, bench, or step. The higher the elevation, the better, because you get more range of motion at the hip and you shift more of the load onto your upper body. So it really challenges you in a big way. Rolling or sliding leg curls are my favorite hamstring exercise because of how low stress it is on the spine and the fact that it works both functions of the hamstrings, knee flexion, and hip extension. Why not do it while hanging from a bar? Now, if you don't have a ball or you just want to mix it up, you can also do hanging body curls. You need a nice, good, stable box or bench, and you're actually now pulling yourself towards the box or bench. This is actually much more challenging, especially the higher you have the box. It really gets those hamstrings hard. You can add in rows. It's such an awesome backside builder. If you're looking to improve hip and spinal extension, strengthen your neck, and increase your overall sexual prowess, look no further than the hanging neck bridge. This exercise is typically done by combat athletes looking to thicken and strengthen the neck and also protect the brain against blows. But they typically do it in free space without the hand assistance. Start here. Once you've mastered the bridge hang, it's time to level up to self-assisted vertical hangs, and you'll want to start with your feet on the floor. Keep in mind it's easier with your feet in front of your body and harder with your feet behind your body. Since everyone has different equipment, body sizes, limb length, you're going to have to personalize your setup so you can get your arms fully extended with your legs on the floor. If you have a very high bar, you may have to elevate your feet to allow you to do so, but know too, elevating your feet behind your body almost feels like an unassisted hang. One of my favorite feet on floor variations is the cobra hang. Think about the cobra pose in yoga, now applied to the bar with the added benefits of the spinal decompression, creating space between the discs so you can really mobilize the hips and spine without as much stress. I highly recommend flowing between a variety of foot positions, especially earlier in the day or your first set. You start with the easier versions, then you gradually move your feet further away behind your body to increase the loading, add some multi-directional movement. This is an amazing 1 or 2 minute set that I just feel unwinds all that tension. Just as we did with the hanging bridges, I want you to play around with your thumb positioning. I'm showing the 3 primary styles here. I do recommend, as much as possible, use that smooth, relaxed, over-the-top monkey grip. That's going to allow you to spend as much time in these positions without overly stressing the elbow. And you've got to mix your grips up as much as possible from set to set, day to day, sometimes even mid-set. If I feel I need to take a brief rest pause, I'll change my grip once I get back on the bar. But there's so many advantages to these wide variety of grips, especially from a shoulder mobility and stability standpoint, plus variety is the spice of life. Finally, I cannot stress enough focusing on mastering the scapular movement, going between the passive positions, maximizing that good stretch, and then that active scapular retraction, depression, trying to crack a nut between those shoulder blades, and ultimately shrugging, which is gonna widen the shoulders, allow you to go to great heights as we progress throughout this program. Now it's time to engage all of your lower body and improve your hip, ankle, and knee mobility with self-assisted hangs from a deep squat. This will really help you extend the time under tension. This will also increase your hip flexion or bendability to prep your body for the leg raises to come later in the program for incredible ab work. Depending on your bar height and individual setup, you may need to elevate your feet with the goal of getting your thighs about parallel to the floor. Now we can go above and below that or mix up the range of motion from set to set or within the set, but that's a great range of motion to try to achieve, and I'll tell you, this is one of the best lat stretches I've ever had. It's kind of where mobility meets muscle gain, especially when you push those 2-minute sets. Now you can hold it for time and just go straight static isometric, or keep mixing in your shrugs and other multi-directional movements. The quad burn is really off the charts. In fact, try to focus on driving your feet underground to really maximize the quadricep engagement, fortify the knees, and again, continue to stretch and strengthen the entire shoulder girdle. This drill will also ease knee pain, allowing you to strengthen your legs and glutes, continue to work your squat pattern unloaded or as unloaded as you need. Use as much arm assistance as you need to stay out of pain. As someone who's been battling knee problems, arthritis, bone spurs, there's some days it's the only way I can get into position, especially if it's inflamed. We can also elevate the heels on the slant board, which allows us to bypass ankle mobility issues and increase the range of motion in the knees and hips to get that real deep squat, kind of ass to grass position. I also find it improves your ankle mobility the more you spend time in that shape. From there, we shift to the self-assisted hang done from the split squat position or the lunge shape. So now we can start strengthening imbalances between sides, mixing between more weight on the front foot versus the back foot, and especially as we drive our weight more forward, you can really open up those hip flexors to maximize the extension moment. This is such an amazing drill. It's one of my favorites. You can put this stretch on steroids by adding a twist for insane levels of rotational mobility, all while being in a decompressed state. Money in the bank. You can do each side for 1 minute plus, or just kind of flow on feel, or if you find you have a tight side, do that side twice as often and twice as long. But you can see we're flowing, adding all of our scapular movement, our twisting rotational movement, side to side actions, and again, because of the length of the set, incredible amounts of endurance is being built in the back, the arms, the grip. You'll love it. In my opinion, this is the world's greatest stretch, literally offsetting all of the bad things that happen to your body when you sit for a long period of time. To get the most out of it, I recommend 2 slant boards and those angles 90 attachments to allow for the swinging nature that completely opens up the hips and shoulders. Now we focus on the self-assisted hang done in the one-legged squat shape or the pistol. Now this is the single most challenging lower body exercise in existence, especially at full depth. The self-assistance will allow us to get there. Assisting with just one leg is going to make that upper body work much harder, but it's also going to start strengthening those imbalances between sides and getting your lower body ready for deep squats. You may have to elevate your feet to get to that proper squat depth, initially looking to get that top thigh parallel to the floor, but you also want to try to explore getting deeper, ideally with the hamstring stacked onto the calf, getting that full flexion to really build and fortify that joint. You can alternate legs or hold one leg at a time. The alternating leg option will be a bit easier because you keep your legs fresher. If possible, I highly recommend elevating your heels on a slant board, not just to get more range of motion in the hip, knees, and ankles, also establish more of an upright trunk position, but to target the VMO, the vastus medialis oblique, that lower quad teardrop muscle that's so important for knee health, performance, and stability. When it's not properly developed, squatting's tough and those knees tend to hurt. Now it's time to apply some gripping challenges to all of these self-assisted hang variations to take your forearms to the next level. As a quick review, we can continue to play with our thumb positioning, doing the best we can to move more to that smooth, over the top, monkey style grip, a relaxed hang that allows us to take pressure off the elbow, initiate more through the shoulder, and spend more time in the bar because we don't get as tired. We can also continue to mix between any of these grips for all of the aforementioned self-assisted hang variations: close, medium, wide grips, overhand, underhand, mixed. So technically, with this level of variety, you'll never do the same hang program any given day. That being said, today is a great day to try some thick bar or fat grips hangs to blow up the forearms. It also makes it less stressful on the hands and the elbows. My personal favorite and the most corrected is the rotating grip with rings to unlock unreal levels of shoulder mobility, mixing between the internal and external rotation shapes. Any grip will be open to after getting good at this, especially the more challenging underhand styles. If you're looking to build a ninja death grip, try the towel grip. This variation really strengthens the fingers. You can also mix in some uneven towel grip work for self-assisted one-arm hangs. Essentially, you're trying to put as much weight as you can on the bar hand, only assisting as much as you need with the towel hand, also working your scapular movement. Increase the challenge with a band, creating that oscillation effect, which makes it even harder for both your shoulders and your spine to stabilize. But again, add that multi-directional movement to mobilize. If you want to do insane full body core exercises like this, pain-free through a full range of motion, you gotta start at ground zero. Now it's time to do some self-assisted hangs, adding leg raises to stretch and strengthen the hip flexors. And there are 5 primary hip flexors, 2 of which attach to the pelvis and lumbar spine, determining your lumbar spine or lower back positioning. The psoas in particular are most active with your knee above hip level, and you'll see 2 in this little stretching series. If I get my back leg behind me, I will challenge my hip range of motion even more, getting that back leg hip extension and trying to maximally drive that top leg hip flexion. If your hips are stiff or you suffer from chronic knee and back pain, you've got to start with the quad hip flexor stretch before hitting up your leg raises. Now you can elevate your back foot on a couch, chair, bench, ottoman, ball, whatever works. In particular, with that back leg elevation, we're stretching the rectus femoris middle quad muscle, which functions as both a hip flexor and knee extensor. It's super active, especially on the straight leg raises. Another great stretch to work into rotation is the sprinter step-up stretch on as high a box or step as you can find to really drive top leg hip flexion, but also we're working that back leg or grounded foot hip extension. You can add the band pull-aparts to get that posture correction and extra upper mid-back work too. The straight-legged version of this exercise dramatically increases the loading and mobility demands. From a strengthening standpoint, it's going to really make your middle quad, the rectus femoris muscle we talked about earlier, work super hard. It might even cramp up on you early on in doing this movement. It's also going to really test your hamstring flexibility. So start bent-legged, and then work in the straight-legged options, and then eventually go from the other foot in front of your body to behind your body to maximally increase the stretch. It will make it harder to raise the leg, but again, that's part of this being a full body flexibility routine to unlock range of motion on all of our key exercises. In general, I recommend mixing between the bent and straight-legged options. You'll be stiffer and tighter earlier in the morning or on your earlier sets in the day. So maybe start bent-legged, and then later in the day, as you get warmed up and loose, move into some of that straight-legged options. I also like to mix between them even mid-set. Maybe the first minute, I hit some bent-legged options on both sides, and then in the second minute, I go straight-legged. So again, have fun, flow, go on feel, and know that the bent-legged options are gonna drive more of the hip flexion stretch. The straight-legged options are going to stretch your hamstrings more. And remember, once you get that range of motion and muscle memory into place, killer drills like this will be within your reach. Let's shift our focus to self-assisted pull-ups or dynamic hangs. This is my single favorite back building exercise. Earlier in my fitness journey, especially when I was very bench press, push-up heavy and didn't work the backside enough, I had a hard time getting a mind-muscle connection to my lats. But this really unlocked that and all of the gains to follow. You likely may have to stand on something stable to allow yourself to get your chest pretty close to where you're gripping, whether it's the rings or it's the bar, because we want to really take advantage of the fact we can go through an insane amount of range of motion here and really contract and pull those shoulder blades down and back at the top and get as deep a stretch at the bottom, only using as much assistance from the legs as we need to execute each rep. Elevating your feet behind your body will make this feel as close to an unassisted pull-up as possible. And again, take advantage of going really slow up and down, 1 inch at a time, up and down. Feel the muscles contract on the way up and stretch on the way down. I like to do this for sets of 5 to 10 reps to fill a 2-minute block. By about a minute in, your muscles are on fire, but there's a minute left, so stay in the game. Now that you've built a big, beautiful, wide base with bridge hangs and self-assisted hangs, it's time to go unassisted, and we're gonna start with the palms-facing hammer grip. This puts your joints in a neutral position, making it very joint-friendly, but it will also target your brachialis muscle more. That is that muscle sandwiched between the biceps and the triceps. Here's what it looks like if you remove all the other muscles. And it's a foundational grip that I want you to really hammer home, pun intended. A closer grip will challenge your mobility more, where a wider grip will test your stability. Ultimately, I want you to mix between those grips and continue to work on our scapular movement, side-to-side movement, and rotational actions to really traction and decompress the spine. We're using all of our body weight now, so now you'll really feel the benefits of hangs to your overall spinal health and performance, so get ready to make it happen. Unassisted shrugs will really build your scapular strength, mobility, and stability. So be sure to keep focusing on expanding that range of motion. Lean back as far as you can, pulling those shoulders down and back and looking skyward, and then drive as far forward as you can to really open up those shoulders. Keep in mind your range of motion will be greater self-assisted, so bridge that gap. In terms of leg positioning, you have a bunch of options to choose from based on your goal and also your bar height. The classic option is feet behind the body. Typically, people will wrap the legs behind their body or they'll kind of squeeze them together. I like the tuck body positioning, which really helps engage your hip flexors more and helps with the lower bar heights. The most challenging option is hollow body, creating that banana-like shape while hanging. It's a gymnastics hold that will test you to the max. And then there's also the ball squeeze. Now, you can squeeze anything between your legs, a foam roller, a yoga brick, a light medicine ball, but try to squeeze as heavy a ball as you can, because that's going to allow you to get more of that decompression and tractioning through the pelvis and the lumbar spine, also activating the pelvic floor, strengthening your adductors, all that good stuff. A self-assisted drop set is where you hang as long as you can unassisted and then back off to the easier unloaded self-assisted option to extend the time under tension and blend strength and stamina. A mechanical drop set involves going from a vertical hang, which is more challenging, using more of your body weight, to a horizontal bridge hang, which unloads you but also continues to work the same muscle. So this is a competitive bodybuilding style stack. The pump and burn is off the charts. The next grip we'll focus on is the over-under or mixed grip. Now, why would we use this grip? Well, number one, this is actually a unique anti-rotation core challenge, more so than going double over or double underhand. So that's a nice added benefit. But also, this will help bridge the gap between the stability demands of going double overhand and the mobility demands of going double underhand. The underhand grip is really tough because it requires full external rotation of the shoulder. The mixed grip also gives you a unique opportunity to fix imbalances between sides. For example, on my right side, I'm missing a little rotation, or it takes me a little bit longer to kind of warm up into the movement. So underhand is a little bit tougher for me on that side, but going mixed grip allows me to kind of get some slack in the system and work on getting that end range. This is also your strongest grip, which is why people go over under to do a max effort deadlift. So if you're trying to hang with the most weight or hang as long as possible, go mixed. And remember, if you're really struggling with this, you can always regress or back off to the horizontal bridge hang version of this exercise. Ideally, I'd like you to stack a vertical and horizontal mixed grip for the best of both worlds. After mastering the hammer and mixed grip, now it's time to go double underhand. So now your shoulders are fully externally rotated. This will challenge your mobility to the max, especially with the wide grip. That's my favorite drill. I do it every day. I go super wide underhand, and once you can do that and get comfortable in that position, every other grip is child's play. As with all of our grips, mix between closer and wider options. And keep in mind too that the underhand grip pull-up, or chin-up as it's often called, tends to be the hardest when your arms are fully extended at the bottom in a dead hang. And you're strongest actually in an underhand grip with pull-ups because your biceps maximally contribute to the exercise. Sometimes adding weight can make an exercise easier or enhance the effect. In the case of mobility, using a weight vest or weighted backpack or using the ball squeeze technique with a weighted med ball will help pull you down more and really open up those shoulders. If you're finding this grip particularly challenging, mix in your underhand grip band pull-aparts. That's going to both help activate the mid-lower traps, which pull those shoulders back and down, but also kind of grease the groove and improve your shoulder external rotation with your arms at shoulder level before you go overhead. This is especially important earlier in the day or just waking up. Mixing between the more challenging pronated overhand grip and the stronger supinated underhand grip with your arms flexed at 90 degrees will grow your arms, build your grip, and prep you for pull-ups. This will also really help you master the differences between the over and underhand grip. The goal is to get those belts completely parallel in both shapes in an open chain free space environment, not like the bar, which gives you more stability. I also recommend working in some single-sided sets to get that laser focus, fix imbalances between sides. My right arm is my stronger arm, but it's also my tighter side, so this really helps me work that asymmetry. Keep in mind, if you're struggling with the underhand grip with the arms overhead, that means you got to do more work with your arms at chest level and continue to work in some of those mechanical drops going from vertical underhand grip to horizontal underhand grip. A minute each is fantastic. Woo-wee! It's about that time to take on the challenge of the overhand grip. Now, especially when we're talking about going with the wider grip here, this is what some of the best bodybuilders of all time use to get the biggest, thickest, and widest backs in the game. The hang is the gateway to the pull-up, and if you don't get good at the scapular shrug with the wide overhand grip, the pull-up will always elude you, and if you can do it, the form will be off, you'll have pain and discomfort. Unlike with the underhand grip, which already winds your shoulder joint into external rotation, with the overhand grip, you've got to create that external rotation on your own, challenging your stability in real ways, and you really need to find a way to connect to that lat. That is the key on this. As tough as this grip is, it's important to remember that the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. Your mindset needs to be, I will conquer the weakest grip, so all my other grips become easy in comparison. Plus, you have to know when you start doing pull-ups overhand, you don't get much arm assistance. It's all back work, so you got to get ready for it. The key to getting really good at the overhand grip is to apply downward pressure into the bar while maintaining a relaxed grip. The hollow body hold is a major stability test that requires you to do this. I highly recommend warming up with 10 to 20 overhead pull-aparts to activate your lower traps, which pull your shoulder blades down to prevent shoulder impingement with the arms overhead. And part of the reason we started by building that horizontal base with bridge hangs is you need to get good at the wide grip at shoulder level first. Overhead is an extreme joint angle that requires even more mobility and stability. You should be able to do this for at least 2 minutes if you ever want to do a vertical hang for 1 minute. As great as hanging on the bar is, it's a closed chain movement, but using a TRX or rings puts you in an open chain environment where the arms have to fight independently to stabilize, so be sure to keep working in this variation. Finally, you are standing on the shoulders of giants like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu, training partners at Muscle Beach in California during the golden era of bodybuilding. Now it's time to pump it up with some flexed arm hangs from a variety of grips. This is my all-time favorite way to build a mind-muscle connection to the back muscles and grow them to their maximum potential. Our goal here is to strengthen the 3 key joint angles to maximize hang and ultimately pull up performance. That top position with your chest as close to the bar as you can. That middle position with the arms flexed at 90 degrees, typically the sticking point on the drill. And then ultimately to that dead hang, that good stretch, adding some motion, multi-directional, some scapular shrugging. It's such a phenomenal sequence. My favorite method is the multi-level flow from top to middle to bottom. Hang as long as you can in each spot, or give yourself a time target. It might start for 5 or 10 seconds with the ultimate goal of doing 20 to 40 plus seconds in each of these positions. You can even tap into the elite level of body weight and core strength seen with gymnasts by mixing between a hollow body, a tucked body, and an L hang position. You can also mix between static and pulsing sets. They both have their place. Static isn't as fatiguing. It's kind of a good entry-level position, and even though you're just holding one spot without moving, you're still strengthening the muscles 15 degrees above and below that joint angle. But obviously the pulsing sets are really going to challenge your muscles more. You get more of a pump and burn, more of a muscle building stimulus. The beauty of this program is the way it continues to build on everything you've done so far. Remember, we can do some drop sets too to really extend the time under tension, the metabolic stress, and signal to the body it's time to change. I love doing a minute each flexed arm vertical hang and then flexed arm bridge hang. It's such a good pump. Get ready to build a vice-like grip, grow your forearms, strengthen your hands and fingers with a variety of gripping challenges on the unassisted hang. One of my favorite options that does not require any specialized equipment is just using multiple grips to fill out a single set. So it's a grip flow complex. Maybe you start underhand, go to hammer, and then finish overhand. It's a great way to get a lot of work done in a short period of time. Using a thicker bar or the fat grips attachments will make it feel like you're doing a weighted hang with just your body weights. It's about 25 to 50% more difficult based on how thick it is, so it's a great way to grow the forearms. The most underrated variation is probably the double towel grip because of how strong it makes your fingers. It also is really easy on your hands if you struggle with sweating on the bar. The towel takes care of that, and you'll find you'll be able to hang only about half as long as normal, or it cuts your pull-up reps in half too. The uneven towel grip is much easier because one hand is on the bar and the other hand using the towel is self-assisting. The lower you grab on the towel, the less assistance you can provide. It's also a great way to start working on kind of self-assisted single arm holds, because the one arm hang is the ultimate test of grip and shoulder strength. As outlined in previous weeks, you can take that towel grip and make it much more challenging with a thick band because of the extra core activation and shoulder stabilization required due to the oscillation of the elastic band. It's one thing to be able to do the rotating grip with your feet on the floor for self-assistance, or even the horizontal bridge hang with the arms at shoulder or chest level, but the overhead version of this unassisted is a true test of mobility, stability, and strength.
New equipment alert!
Honestly, I'm not trying to sell you on more equipment, but strongmen, arm wrestlers, most grip-intensive athletes do a lot of specialized, dedicated, isolated finger, hand, and wrist training. Right here we're doing palmar grasping or making a fist. That can be done with a variety of grippers, and people tend to not train the opposing muscles or the antagonists, the finger extensors. And I'm using a rubber band here. You've got that at home likely, very cheap and easy to get. There's some specialized attachments as well that take a little bit longer to get on, but they do stay in place pretty well. But again, these are great for higher reps. It kind of rounds out the training. If you feel like your hands are really stiff on the bar or you've got arthritis, this will help a ton. Proper progression begins with mastering stability and isometric strength before adding dynamic challenges like you're watching right here. And you built the base now to really make things more fun and exciting with a variety of planes of motion and movement drills to take your hangs to the next level. Unlike with weight loss, where the goal is just to get the scale number to go down and just obsessing about just a number readout, with performance training, you actually feel the gains. You're doing things you couldn't do just a couple days or weeks or months ago, and it really empowers. Unlike kipping, which uses your legs to generate momentum, we're actually using the shoulder girdle to create the movement here, building upon weeks of working that scapular shrug. So start slow and build it up. It's also time to start building that side-to-side strength with lateral shifting, keeping the arms as straight as you can, and then loading up to one side. This actually will help prep you for advanced pull-up variations like the archer pull-up or typewriter pull-up, with the ultimate goal of doing a single arm pull-up. One of the major goals of this program was to bulletproof the spine, decompress, and anti-age it. Reverse a lot of the damage of gravity and life and activity, wear and tear. Squeezing a heavy medicine ball and creating this rotation, just wrapping from side to side using your core muscles will do the trick. This obviously really smokes the entire upper body and core, but This is open chain, free space hip training. It's gonna help a lot with your gait, running, walking, jumping performance. I love it. Honestly, this is probably the single best abs exercise in the game. You can go with heavier medicine balls to increase the challenge. I like sets of 5 to 10 reps, bringing those knees all the way to the elbows. Another great option is the pumping L hang, which works the middle quad rectus femoris muscle, which both extends the knee and flexes the hip. What a challenge. All great programs start at ground zero. They build a wide base. We drip the skills day by day. We simplify the complex, but you get to the point where you get that movement database, and now we can start to freestyle, flow, listen to our bodies, and unlock unlimited opportunities. Don't forget, warm up and activate with earlier versions of these types of movements. I love the marching bridge hang with the ball squeeze to activate the pelvic floor, stretch the hip flexors, and activate the glutes. Great way to kind of get ready for your hanging leg raises or even work in some drop sets. And you can always fine tune your form with the self-assisted leg raise options as well, mixing between the bent-legged and the straight-legged options, or back off to them, or use them earlier in the day when you're a little bit tired or stiff, and then you can kind of rise to the challenge of the vertical options in the afternoon or the early evening. But don't ever forget the basics. The basics are never too basic, no matter how advanced you get. Once you've mastered the 2-arm hang, now it's time to go 1-arm, but that's a big bridge to cross, so we have to use some self-assisted options to get there. Start with your feet on the floor, and what we're really trying to do here is work on imbalances between side. In addition to the fact, now we're really testing our hand, finger, and grip strength, our overall dexterity. This will be a little bit more challenging on your hands, so try to make sure we have electric tape on the bar, or we just are mindful of the callousing that can happen. A smooth bar or rings tend to help a lot as well, but really work on that multi-directional mobility and use as much assistance as you need. Another big benefit of the single arm self-assisted hangs, it actually really does enhance the stretch on your spinal muscles, in particular your obliques and your QL or quadratus lumborum muscle. Both are very important to mobilize and strengthen to prevent that chronic lower back pain, and that added load now into one side of the body really helps decompress the spine too. Just as the 2-arm shrug sets the stage for 2-arm hanging and pull-ups, so will the 1-arm shrug. And on 1 arm, we have a unique opportunity to really explore rotational and side-to-side actions to really stretch our lats and rear delts and ultimately strengthen those mid and lower traps. Just pull those shoulders down and back. So explore the range of motion and hang on. This program has taught you so much, including the importance of warm-up, back off, and drop sets. Do 2-arm shrugs earlier in the day or to warm up. And a back off set means that once you can't do the 1 arm anymore, you're getting really fatigued, you can back off to later sets to using the 2-arm self-assistance. And the drop set technique means we go right from a 1-arm self-assisted hang to a 2-arm. I also highly recommend stacking your vertical and horizontal 1-arm hangs. Try 30 to 60 seconds each of a self-assisted 1-arm vertical hang right into a 1-arm bridge hang. Now we're gonna move from feet on floor to the deep squat shape to enhance the stretch and time under tension. With only 1 arm to assist, the legs are really gonna get some work here. In fact, the question is which will give first, your quads or your grip? If you can, definitely mix in some sets where you elevate your heels on a slant board to increase the hip and knee flexion, allowing you to more effortlessly get into that really deep squat where you're kind of stacking your joints like an accordion. This also really enhances the lat stretch. For best results, use the 2-arm version of this exercise for warm-up, back off, and drop sets. The 1-arm version is very challenging, so it's okay to modify and regress. And remember, this is not just about strengthening your legs and improving your squat, it's about getting more range of motion through your hips for leg raises. Now let's shift from the bilateral squat to the split squat to further strengthen imbalances between sides and simultaneously increase the load through our arms and our legs. You want to start kneeling if possible based on your bar height, because this will allow you to really drive that stretch, opening up those hip flexors, and ultimately improving that lunge shape. Keep in mind you want to do both ipsilateral and contralateral sets. Ipsilateral means the arm that is holding the bar is the same side as the lead leg, and contralateral means it's opposite arm and leg. These are really going to enhance the spinal stretches, getting into the oblique and QL areas, and ideally try to do 1 minute on each arm for 2 minutes total on the same forward leg, this will really burn those legs and build that upper back. It's definitely more difficult to assist with the legs from the split squat shape versus the bilateral squat, but keep working that multi-directional movement and those scapular shrugs to add strength and stamina to the system. And twisting is the gift that keeps on giving, especially on one arm. This winds up that whole system, improving hip, spinal, and shoulder rotation. You will love it. Keep working those warm-up, back off, and drop sets. Starting the day with some two-arm split squat work will kind of warm you up and grease the groove. Later in the day, you can hit those one-arm sets and then even back off later in the day to the two-arm or drop set to the two-arm options. It's about that time to progress to the self-assisted one-arm hang from a single leg squat or the pistol squat shape. We've been gradually shifting more of the weight from the legs to the arms to help us build up to as close as we can to the one-arm hang challenge. And we want to do both the ipsilateral and contralateral sets. Ipsilateral meaning same side arm and leg, contralateral is opposite arm and leg. Such great stability tests. Elevating your heels on a slant board, particularly from the pistol squat shape, because on one leg, it really increases the inner and outer hip thigh stabilization demands, will really hit the VMO muscle. That's going to help stabilize the knee joint and make it possible for you actually to get to the deep squats pain-free. You can alternate legs. You can hold one leg at a time for 30 to 60 seconds each. The choice is yours. Just have fun and mix and match the moves. One of the common misconceptions is that warming up is only important if you're injured or you're newer to training. In fact, the more advanced you get, the higher the intensity of your workouts and the movements you are using. So you actually need more dedicated extended warm-ups to prevent injury and reach your peak or maximum performance. So be sure to keep working those warm-up, back off, and drop sets. The final progression to the single arm hang involves an off-hand assist, which most closely resembles what it's like to hang on one arm. The easiest and most accessible option is the uneven grip, where you keep the arm you're trying to hold most of your body weight towards the middle of the bar, and the offhand assist goes wide on the bar, and you can continue to make it more challenging by removing fingers to make it harder to assist. If you're using a door pull-up bar, the door frame provides an awesome offhand assist. Again, this will feel really close to full body weight, but the offhand on the door frame gives you that extra lateral and rotational stability so you can stay in place, work on your scapular shrugging, all that good stuff. The offhand assist with a stick is more challenging because it is a less stable surface, but it'll really turbocharge the core and shoulder activation. Try to treat the stick like an ice pick, root it down into the earth, and really engage the lat of that arm to lock yourself into place. The offhand assist with the dip bar is my personal favorite. It unloads your body weight. It allows you to get the stability you need to stay square, and it will also improve your dip form and mobility. Now, my favorite supersets are dip holds and hangs, or to make it even more challenging, dips and pull-ups. You can work on both right here, and you're working both extreme joint angles of the shoulder, flexion and extension, all in one drill. It really is genius. The next step is to apply a variety of gripping challenges to the self-assisted one-arm hang. As a quick review, we can continue to play with our thumb positioning, doing the best we can to move more to that smooth, over-the-top, monkey-style grip, a relaxed hang that allows us to take pressure off the elbow, initiate more through the shoulder, and spend more time in the bar because we don't get as tired. As great as the rotating grip is on two arms, it's even better on one arm to fix imbalances between sides and take advantage of the additional load coming through that side to enhance the stretch. So really wind up that shoulder joint and work that shrug action too. If you don't have rings or you want to mix it up, you can also do the rotating grip on a bar by using your feet to basically go from overhand to underhand, complete shoulder rotation with the benefits of strengthening that grip, building stamina. This is such a great drill to really open up that shoulder girdle. As if the thick bar or fat grips attachments isn't tough enough on two arms, the one arm option is truly diabolical, but it will provide an incredible grip and forearm building stimulus. I love the towel grip because you can take it with you anywhere. You don't have to worry about sweating. It's super easy on the hands, especially if you have some callousing or some wear and tear there. and it really strengthens the fingers. This is also a great time to do some grip specialization work, really working on mobilizing the wrists and the elbow. This flow is fantastic using a light dumbbell. Start with 2.5 to 5 pounds. You really don't have to go much heavier than 10 pounds here. And we're just taking that wrist through flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, and pronation and supination, some circles as well. It really kind of greases the groove. You can even play with a pan or hammer, some great household objects that will really strengthen your grip and forearms and fortify the wrist and elbows. Both objects, particularly the pan, a really heavy cast iron in particular, has that offset load which really challenges you in a unique way, especially if you grip lower on the handle. And you can see even with the hammer, it's a light hammer, so I added a fat grips attachment at the bottom as well to further challenge my grip. And finally, let's have some fun and mix in some movement challenges on the self-assisted one-arm hang. You are well on your way to doing the ultimate test of grip strength. Just as the one-arm hang is the king of grip exercises, so is the one-arm hanging leg raise the king of core exercises, but it all starts here with self-assistance, knees bent, feet in front of the body. You can eventually progress to getting that back leg behind your body and the front leg straight to increase the loading and mobility demands, but it all starts by just getting comfortable with the exercise and focusing on range of motion. Early on, you may only be able to hang on one arm for a couple seconds or maybe 3 to 5 seconds, but the alternating arm option allows you to manage fatigue but accumulate a lot of time under tension to get to that level. Start with your feet on the floor in a wide base to stabilize and eventually pick those legs up. And again, we can warm up, back off, and drop set to the one arm horizontal bridge hang option as well. And if you're really struggling with this, stick with this for a while. For most people, the one arm pull-up will take a lifetime of dedicated work to achieve, and most will never even get there. That's okay. Not every exercise is within the reaches of the masses, but everyone can eventually get to the point where they can do self-assisted single arm pull-ups, just like we're showing right here. Focus on a big stretch at the bottom, a massive contraction at the top. I like sets of 3 to 5 really slow and controlled reps per side, and come up all the way on the toes or elevate the feet to get as high as you need to. Warm up, back off, and drop sets on 2 arms will continue to feed your single arm strength performance, so be sure to stay on top of it. I hope you enjoy what I hope is the single best tutorial on the hang available on the internet. This took a lot of time and effort to produce, so please like, share, and subscribe, and click the join button to take on the 28-day Hangs Challenge as a VIP member of my channel. And as promised, here's the bonus content, my daily inversion for lower back pain. Yo, I want to share with you today my inversion routine. I do this mostly daily, and I'm going to be showing it using this particular setup on a kind of pull-up bar or even a Smith machine apparatus that allows me to kind of adjust things up and down. You can do this out of any stable pull-up bar or vertical bar hanging off. I've got inversion boots, 50 bucks on Amazon. But before I progress to this, I did a year of almost daily inversion table work, another device I invested in, 200 bucks on Amazon. A little safer, more accessible to kind of get into. Different levels of inclination you can use as well. So I recommend starting with that if that's in your budget. This obviously, as you'll see, it's harder to get on and off, and you're also in free space. You don't have the support and stability of the table to give you the confidence and that type of thing. So let me show you this. Again, I hurt my lower back a little over a year ago filming the video. I credit it to just years of compression from heavy squatting, deadlifting, also being old. I've been on this earth a long time. I think around 35 to 40, the average individual has been here long enough. Gravity has taken a hold of the disc, where now there's not as much space between those discs. You're more prone to, bulging, herniated type situation, just chronic lower back pain or arthritis. So I love getting on here, decompressing the spine, tractioning. I do daily hangs. Hanging from the hands is fantastic, but it's going to affect more of the shoulder than it will the pelvis. When you attach the feet, now you're really impacting, again, the pelvis, which the lumbar spine attaches to, so it really dictates lower back positioning and health. So that's why I love it as well. Unreal core strength as well, which I'll show on this. So let me go into how I get on here. Again, this is a setup, simple bar apparatus. I can adjust this up and down, which is nice. You can do this on, like I said, a Smith machine, or you just have to work with whatever pull-up bar you have. Make sure it's stable. Make sure to test it with your body weight. All right, first, there is a little more inherent risk to this, but I see it as worth the risk in terms of the benefits from this. This has really helped me. My lower back has never felt better in my life. But you want to be careful in terms of how you progress to this, and just start with a couple minutes a day. I typically do now built up to 10 to 15 minutes total. A big part of it is getting used to being inverted and not getting lightheaded or dealing with that increased demands of circulation, but it's also great for lymphatic drainage. So many benefits to doing this. So I've got some ab straps here as well that helps me get on and off. And if you set up close to a wall, you can use that wall to have your feet help to scale up. So here we go. Set up, come through, and just lift through like this. Obviously, I have to try to swing the legs up as well and get there, but you can see there's going to be more of a flexibility requirement. You can go one leg at a time. And again, just be mindful of your setup. Feels good. And just slowly come down. And again, I like to have a height where I can have my hands here. You know, just in case. The equipment is sturdy. You'll know if it feels good or not. Always check your equipment first before you get into this position. But my hands are ready here, and if something terrible is to happen, I'm ready. I'm not totally relaxing here and just not being cognizant of what's going on. Also, a padded surface, or even bringing a thick pillow or pad right here where your head's basically almost touching. That's a nice option as well, just in case something would happen. Safety first, especially anytime you're upside down. But again, I kind of trust the setup here. And initially, just you want to start getting comfortable breathing and relaxing in this position. So deep inhales through the nose into the belly. Full exhales through the mouth. Now initially, you can kind of start with some nice movement, always keeping tension down into the bar, right? I don't want those clips to come off. So hands are ready. Just kind of some nice swaying side to side. Some kind of forward, backward. That extra movement is going to help further traction and decompress those spinal discs. And the cool part about this too is you can actually kind of tie in some shoulder mobility, kind of overhead triceps, lat stretch. I can also add some twisting to this as well. If you really trust the setup and you feel comfortable, you can add a little bit more of that, going in there side to side. And initially, kind of in free space, you're trying to create that spinal movement in a decompressed state. So this is this is complete against gravity core work here. And another piece of it too, from a feet standpoint, you can just kind of totally relax your toes and feet and hang. You actually can make it more comfortable and engage your shin muscles more by pulling the toes to the shin and actively kind of doing an isometric hold there. The shins will burn heavy on this. And then I can just start to create, a spinal wave, a little crunch. Always, again, pulling down into the bar, a little extension, a little side bending, all right, rotation, keeping those glutes clenched, and then we can actually tie in some, sit-ups. Exhale it up, trying to get up there all the way. Slow inhale down. I try to do about 3 to 5 of those every time I get on here. Every week I notice I'm getting closer and closer to the bar, and also great strength for the quads as well, isometrically. You can also work on reverse squats. I just have my hands ready here to kind of just, assist if I need to, but I'm just gonna pull up. So exhale up, using my hip flexors to pull me all the way up into that kind of squat shape. Inhale it down. And then, just keep working that, holding it isometrically, releasing out, all right? That's a nice way to, again, help improve your squat pattern, strengthen your hip flexors against gravity, which means you can pull yourself down deeper into a squat, all right? And, again, I'd recommend at least a couple minutes early on, once it feels good. I do 10, I do up to 15 sometimes, and I like to do this also kind of after the spine gets nice and warm, or after a sauna. I'm actually out here in the desert, so it's kind of a sauna and inversion, but it might be a little bit more sore to start the day. So I think midday or after heat and a nice good warm is the best time to kind of get that spinal release. Coming out, I've got these ab straps handy because I'll be pretty fatigued at that point. 10 plus minutes in, I can grab it, kind of walk myself up to the bar, secure both hands, and then kind of go one leg at a time and come out. So again, I'm not build up to this. I'd recommend starting with the inversion table. I still use the inversion table, by the way, when I just want to, more relax and just kind of zone out in my kind of meditative den sauna area. and just to help drain the legs, relax and decompress the spine. But this has been kind of the next level for my core training. And what I can also then do is do some of my ab strap work right off of this. I tend to go in and right and do some pull work as well, because I actually find this helps lengthen me out in a way that helps me get optimal form when I do some more swim work in the pool. So I just wanted to share this with you. It has been an absolute game changer for my spine. It's a minimal investment from the standpoint of $50 inversion boots or a higher end $200 inversion table on Amazon. And then again, as long as you have a stable vertical anchor point you can hang off of at home or at a gym, highly recommend it. Soft padded surface, hands ready for safety. And again, always check your equipment before you get up in here. But this has been phenomenal. I really hope it helps you. You know, when I first hurt the back, that was actually the most pain I've ever had in my life. I was in tears. Couldn't sleep. It was just 8 hours of just the most intense pain I've ever experienced. And I've had injuries all over my body. The first thing you want to do is you want to get fast relief, and you want to get into kind of these pain pills. And to me, you can go the pain pill route, and I wouldn't recommend it. It's a slippery slope. It's not going to fix what's going on there. And I just committed, you know what, I'm going to commit to daily inversion for a year. And it literally readjusted my spine, realigned it, and now I'm doing things with my spine, my core, my overall fitness I've never done before at 42. I wish I would have invested in this sooner. So in terms of one thing you do every day to help get out of pain, protect your spine long term, daily inversion. I hope this helps you guys. Please like, share, subscribe, and ask any questions in the comments. Peace.
Yeah.